Currency Club. Today's guests, two very special guests, and they are the hosts and creators of my favorite podcast. So, The Jungle is Hell. Yes, my favorite. I'm not even lying. My favorite podcast, The Jungle is Hell. Today we have Darius and Mel. So, I'm going to turn things over to them and let them introduce themselves.
I'm Darius. I'm from Mississippi. So while y'all listening to this interview, I got a little drawl in my voice. So that's all about me, man. Co-host of the Jungle is Hell podcast. You started it off. You surprised me right there because I really love to hear that we somebody's favorite podcast. That did it for me.
My name is Mel, guys. I'm also a co-host of the Jungle is Hell podcast. I'm from Louisiana. I have to appreciate you for shouting us out as your favorite podcast, too. That made my night, so I appreciate that a lot.
All right, so let's get into it. Talk about the Jungle is Hell podcast. What can viewers expect to find if they tune into your channel, your station?
Well, the Jungle is Hell podcast is a space that we created where we discuss fatherhood, friendship. We definitely make sure to hit all the hot topics that's going to go viral and just our overall life experiences. We also like to have special guests on and experts to discuss a magnitude of different things like mortgages, travel, finances, entrepreneurship, and their life experiences. And then, of course, my co-host Darius, he's a local comedian. So another one, and my favorite parts about the show is that we get to give other local comedians a platform and let them come on, and we just have a really good time. So on our podcast, we go over a diverse group of topics that'll make you either laugh, think, or reevaluate life.
My OG told me once that life is a jungle and that jungle is hell. And we just ran with that, man. It's a fun experience. I'm enjoying doing it every day. I hadn't gotten tired of it yet because I know they talk about the podcast burnout.
I can vouch for that. I was a guest on the show. I wasn't the 50th episode or 75th episode or no anniversary type of episode, but I was a guest, a valuable contributor to the show. So thank you for having me on. We're going to talk about that a little later. But Darius, you just talked about the burnout that comes with a podcast. So how long has your show been going on?
So we started May 19th was our first episode, very first episode. Just asking about podcasting and just looking in groups and stuff and just looking at podcasts in general. A lot of them stop after like 10, 15, 20 episodes, and then you never hear from them again. They'd be like, last post episode was like in 2018 or 2020, it's 2022 now. So, and I get it though, because sitting there talking, like it's easy to run out of things to talk about. But when you're doing it with your best friend, see, that's one thing that I didn't mention. That's my best friend over there. We can talk for hours and hours and hours. If y'all ever check out our podcast, some might be 3 hours. Respect the people that do it by themselves. That is a rough thing, you know what I'm saying? So respect to you, Whitney. You doing this by yourself and you bouncing off us like that. The episodes I've listened to so far have been good, entertaining, and hella fun.
The average lifespan of a podcast is 174 days. I mean, the statistics show that 20% of podcasts started in a year will make it to the next year. So 80% will fail within a year.
Thank you for coming through with the stats, man. I appreciate that about you. You said 80% of podcasts fail. Let's talk about what makes a successful podcast.
It's different levels of success, because you can talk about money and all that stuff like that. And we'll get to that eventually, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people see these podcasts and they get enamored with like the fame of them. Let's say you want to talk about The Breakfast Club or you want to talk about Drink Champs or 85 South Show. Well, those podcasts have been going for years before they made it big. You got to focus on the consistency. You got to focus on, keeping it going, keeping the energy there.
So we just reached 11.5 thousand views, and that's really big for a podcast. And I think what helped us get there was consistency. I can understand how when you get to a certain level and you have certain sponsorships, you may have to appease certain crowds or certain people. But I love what we have to where we can just stay true to ourselves, stay consistently ourselves and how we want to do it. And I feel that is what has made us as successful as we are. And whenever people start a podcast, they ask me what's the most important thing. I always say start off with audio quality. And that's where we invested some good money to make sure our audio quality was on point, just to make sure we didn't turn anybody off in the first 3 to 5 minutes.
I have so many thoughts going through my head. I have some questions like already planned to talk to you about, but I feel like we just jumping all around. So listen, I'm just going to follow the direction that you're taking me in, right? You talking about audio quality. That's one of the deciding factors. I agree. We actually just talked about that in a YouTube video that I did when I interviewed a guy named Daryl. He said something along the lines of, People will watch crappy video, but they will not tolerate poor audio quality. So I'm very happy that you brought that up. There's a lot of people trying to start podcasts. What type of equipment do they need to get started?
First off, a good microphone. If you're going to do it by yourself, then you could go get like a USB microphone or something like that. If you're going to do it with like a soundboard or something like that, of course, you want an XLR microphone. It gets a little tricky because there's so many different types of microphones. There's so many. The industry standard is a Shure SM7B. We got Shure MV7s, which is like the little brother to the SM7B. If you get good microphones, good equipment, you are more likely to keep people listening to what you got to say. It's because when I listen to podcasts, I'm usually doing something else. So when I hear all type of bad sounds and spiciness and hissing and all this stuff like that, it turns me off. I know what people say. People say this. People say, if you want to start a podcast, you can just use your phone. Yes, you can. You can use just your phone because our iPhones and Androids are way far beyond what they used to have. But, and there's a big but, if you got the money, spend the money on a nice microphone. Your job is to have people listen to you. And you want to sound good. It means you can get a $100 mic and it sound good, but you can get a Rode Pod mic. Rode Pod mic is $99. Get that. It's a little spicier than these. If you can't hear what you sound like, you're going to put out bad quality. You don't have to get no super expensive headphones, but get you some audio quality headphones so you can listen to what you sound like before you put it out.
I know it's a tall ask for somebody to put money into something that doesn't pay, because we don't get paid to do this. We enjoy doing it. But whenever you don't have the right equipment, you may find yourself spending a lot of time making edits to your audio to make it sound like you had the right equipment. So it'll save you some time along the way having better equipment to record.
And I personally feel like you have to invest in anything you do, because if you want a person to listen to you, take 30 minutes out of their life, 50 minutes, 3 hours, which y'all podcasts. But if you want a person to take time out of their life, give me some quality audio to listen to. So it should be crisp and clear. I was a guest on their show. They had laptops. They had a soundboard. They were making sound effects, all kind of stuff. What else would you recommend a person, purchase to get started?
If you're doing it, especially if you got multiple guests, I would say you need a nice interface, and you don't have to have the interface that I got. So I got a PodTrack P8, which is a higher end one, not the super higher end one, but it's like just to be real transparent, it costs $500. I know not everybody got $500, but you can get smaller ones. You can get a PodTrack P4. You can get a PodTrack P2. I'm sure they got PodTrack P1s. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but you can get the smaller versions of them. But you need to have an interface if you're going to be hooking up different XLR microphones to your laptop, because you need to power those mics. What else you need? Interface, headphone, good computer, and a good mic. Really, that's the makeup of a good podcast right there. And then when you get into like video and stuff like that, of course, you need some other things.
And when we get to the computer, I tell you, I searched for a computer for I would say like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I searched for a good computer because Darius has a MacBook. You have to say which one you have. I have a HP Envy, and I really love my computer. It's fast. It does everything I need to do. So a good computer, you can go anywhere from $800 to a couple $1,000. Mine was $1,200, I believe. But still, it's just about what you want to do. And I know at some point I wanted to do video editing.
The best thing you can do is reach out to other podcasters, man. I'm gonna tell you one thing about the podcast community is that they helpful. They super helpful. Don't nobody be trying to hold back secrets and stuff like that. I'm sure there's probably some people, but most of the people that I've interacted with, and we'll help you out as much as we can via Zoom, via phone call, whatever you need. We got you.
I love that. That's one of the reasons I invited Darius and Mel to be a part of the show, is because Darius will support almost any good thing that's going on. If he sees a person who is striving, a person who's creating content, a person who is, aspiring to do something good with their life, different with their life, Darius is sharing everything. He's sharing my YouTube videos. He's sharing my pictures. He's sharing other podcasters, just everything. And it's not just me. Like, he does that for a majority of people in his network. So definitely value add to connect with both of these guys. And that's also part of the reason that we're here on the show, to share information with other people who are considering starting a podcast. Do you all edit the podcast? Like, do you edit the audio files, or is it just straight save it and upload it?
Every now and then, like I've had people ask me to edit certain things out that they said during the podcast, and we always make sure we respectful to the guests. And like, if you slip up and say nothing, we ain't trying to do no gotcha moments, so I'll edit it out and delete it. I'll keep it if I blackmail you later on, but I edit it out. No, I'm just kidding. I edit sometimes, but most of the time it's just us just talking. It's a free form conversation. But when I do edit, I use GarageBand and I use
Like the program
GarageBand.
that comes on Apple products?
Yeah, I just
So
use
it's
that.
free.
Yeah,
So
it's free. It's free. I do got what's that? Adobe
We have
Audition.
Adobe Audition. Yep.
Yeah, Audition. If I got to get a little more technical or something like that in there, then I sometimes use that if I got to get in there and like scrub some stuff. So
do you need a certain amount of storage, or are you guys using external hard drives? Like, I know from doing YouTube that it takes up a lot of storage space on your computer, and I use an external hard drive when I'm creating content for my YouTube channels. But do you need the same?
It depends on the size computer you have. I mean, I would always recommend getting an external hard drive just so you can have an extra layer of protection in case something happens to your laptop. But that's kind of one of those questions about, how much you want to spend on a laptop and then how much do you want to spend on additional accessories. You can get a cheaper laptop by getting a smaller hard drive, and then you can probably get a good 2 terabyte hard drive for another $100 off the side, compared to if you get it in a laptop, they may add $300 to $500 onto your laptop. It just depends on what somebody wants to do. I mean, some people don't want to buy extra accessories. I don't mind. I mean, I have an external hard drive for my video games, and I really don't need it. And I also have an external hard drive for my laptop. I like the additional protection.
It looks like Darius is co-signing that.
Yeah, I got an external hard drive, and I most of the stuff is on my computer, so we'll do all the recording on my computer. At the beginning of the year, I just switched everything to my hard drive, and then my computer is empty now, so we'll start over. But yeah, external hard drive definitely. And
then that's another thing too. Like, you don't want too much on your computer. I might butcher, but holding up the RAM and the space and slowing things down. I mean, if you have a clean computer, it's just the smoother the performance.
So let's talk more about the podcast. I see that there's two of you here. Obviously, you guys co-created the show. You talked a little bit about partnerships. What role do you all play? Like, do you split all the work down the middle, or do you all have different roles and contributions to your show?
Man, I'll start first. I got to give a big up to Darius. Darius does most of everything behind the scenes, honestly. Darius makes the flyers. Darius does the audio. Darius does the posting. And why I appreciate having, like Darius said, having a partner doing the show, because if it was up to me, I'd probably still be editing our first episode. not certain if we can put it out yet. You know what I'm saying? I call it courageous. Darius may say he just don't care, but just how willing he is to put something out and watch the reaction, compared to I'll sit there and wonder what the reaction will be before I even see the reaction. We put our first episode out and they had nothing but good reviews. And I was telling Darius, like, I hated it at first, but I do promotion. I pay, like, I know Darius has a bigger following than me, so I don't mind paying for like Facebook ads and stuff like that. So to kind of match the following that he has from being a local comedian, I don't mind putting more money up to get the outreach.
He said everything that was what it was. Shit. Hey, appreciate the big ups, man. So yeah, we do.
No problem, man. You handle a lot of the behind the scenes. So
okay, so that was a good transition into marketing. You said Darius does a majority, but you've also done some sponsored ads. Talk to me about how you market your podcast.
The biggest thing is word of mouth. Any of my personal friends know I have a podcast. Facebook is a little bit tricky for me. I try not to market directly on my page. I do sometimes, but I have a lot of co-workers of all different backgrounds and it may not be receptive of my content. So I try to be very cautious of which episodes I'll post on my personal Facebook. Instagram, no holds bar. I post everything on Instagram. But whenever it comes to actual like marketing in the ad buys that I do, depending on the episode and the content, I'll just adjust the age, adjust who I feel like the demographic is. Because sometimes I do feel like, hey, this may be more of a Black episode, or this may be more of a young people episode, or this may be more of a mature episode. Like the setting is like 18 to 70 is the generic setting. So it just really depends on the episode and the content on how I adjust those parameters for those ad buys.
I'm always talking about the podcast, man. I'm just always talking about it. So I think I was at the club the other day, and somebody was next to me at the bar. I'm like, "You listen to podcasts? Hey man, I got a podcast." I'm gonna tell you, the word of mouth thing for podcasting is probably the best marketing that you're gonna get. See right here, you saying that's your favorite podcast, you're gonna get 3 people off this show. No, no doubt. They say that's Whitney's favorite podcast. I'm gonna go listen to it. Let me go check it out. That's what makes people check our podcast. I can count on one hand how many times I've seen a Facebook ad and was like, oh, I'm gonna go listen to this podcast. Now that's not knocking the Facebook ads, because all my favorite podcasts, even the most famous ones, came off word of mouth. Somebody saying that they like Drink Champs. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go listen to it. You know, somebody saying that they like, you know, the Breakfast Club. All right, cool, I'm gonna go listen to it. Not because of some ad they put out.
I do the ad buys just because of, I feel like my following isn't as big online, but to Darius' exact point, I mean, I'll do an ad buy. It has an outreach of 5,000 people, and then it'll say of that 5,000, 500 click the link. So only 10% of that 5,000 click the link. And then from that 500, we still do like a very gradual increase. That's just an increase that's normal that we would have did probably without the ad buy. So, but I personally like to do the buys because I feel like I have to keep seeing something, right? You have to keep seeing it. And then it just becomes brand recognition. Like, oh, this is that. I've seen this before. I've seen that before. So even if they don't listen that first time, maybe they 50th ad, they may listen. And when we was promoting the party that we threw under the podcast name, you know, we are asking people, oh, I've seen this on Facebook. And I tell you one thing, the ad buy for the party did not line up with the tickets. So it just goes to show that, yeah, you may not get the results that you're looking for. So whenever you do these ad buys, make sure you're realistic what your result is. Like I don't purchase an ad buy to say I'm going to get 5,000 listens. I just like the fact that it's scrolling across people's screens and they see us consistently. To Darius' point, I see so many ads every day. Click, just keep on clicking. But whenever I see it again,
you mean scroll? You scrolling, you're not clicking ads. You actually clicking them?
I mean in the story. You know, in the story, they be in your story, and then you got to click it to keep it going. So that's what I keep it, scroll by, click it through, whatever.
You swiping and tapping. You tapping forward. You're not clicking the ad.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm tapping forward.
Okay. Just clarifying. Because it sounds like you clicking on every ad. It sounds like you clicking on every ad that come across your screen.
He said click. It sounds like you're on Tinder or something, my brother.
Long story short, you keep passing it up, but sooner or later you're gonna recognize it. And I see this especially with clothing brand ads. There's so many brands that after my first ad, I'm like, is this even legit? Then about 10 ad buys, they're not no more legit than the first ad, but the fact that I've seen them 10 times, they gotta be legit. Yes. You know what I mean? So it's just a psyche thing for me.
It's for everybody. You have the average person has to see something 3 to 7 times for them to even pay attention to it. So everything you say is accurate. So what sets your podcast apart from other podcasts? There's a million of them. I was Googling popular podcasts, looking at titles, looking at the types of content they create. They got some about everything you would think of.
What sets us apart is the fact that you can find everything you're looking for in our podcast. If you want to find out about mortgages, you can find on our podcast. If you want to find out about entrepreneurship, you can find on our podcast. OnlyFans pages, how to get started, you can find on our podcast. If you want to find out about sex workers, you can find on our podcast. Like we make sure to cover a multitude of topics that will resonate with the audience. Like I had a friend today tell me, hey, you guys are so many episodes in, it's intimidating. Can you send me a playlist? One of my response was, what are you into? Because I know whatever you're into, we have covered. So whenever you ask what set us apart is our willingness to bring on so many different people and give you so many different topics. We've had somebody from, she's from the UK, and she talked about being married at 14 and getting stabbed by her abuser. So that was a deep cut story. Whatever you're looking for, whether it's an emotional story that you can relate to and to look for guidance, and whether you're looking for advice on counseling, whether you're looking for advice on buying a home, whether it doesn't matter, we have the content for you. We have well over 6,000 minutes of conversation, and none of it is old. None of it you can say, oh, well, the first 5 episodes really the same, so you can skip past that. It's our diversity. And then, of course, our competitive advantage is the fact it's Darius and Mel.
Hey, Darius and Mel. Darius and Mel. We have a good time. We have a fun time, man. At one point, we was like 2 or 3 weeks behind, right? Because we was recording so many episodes. Everybody want to get on the podcast. So now we get behind because we only post 2 episodes a week, but we doing 3. So now we got 7, 8. So when I post them, I might listen to them before I post them, and I remember what I was saying, and I get to listen to it, and I'm laughing, Man, I'm sending him messages like, hey, man, you was wild. He like, what I say? What I said that? Now I send him a clip and I be like, man, I was wilding right then. Look, it ain't never like a dry moment. We having a good time, man. Bring your friend, bring your cousin. We tackle taboo topics too, man. Like nothing is off limits. LGBTQ, black issues, white issues. We're gonna talk about it all, and we're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty. Gender wars, man. We talk about everything. And we got respect for everybody. We're gonna laugh and poke fun. We got respect for everybody, and the sky's the limit. As long as we keep on having good guests like Whitney Styles in here.
That part. We're gonna plug my episode in the description box. We need everybody to tap in and watch that. So who is your target audience?
Everybody.
Nope. You can't say everybody. You can't say everybody. Every business has a target customer. You're supposed to pick that when you're planning.
But listen to me though. Listen to me. And I want you to listen to me carefully. Everybody's our target audience. And I'm gonna tell you why everybody's our target audience. Just yesterday, we had It's Your Girl Haley on there. You don't know her yet, but you're gonna know her. She is 7 and she got hit records. When I say we was over here jamming to the records, let's take it on to the other end. We had my mom on the podcast. She's 61. She talked about addiction. She talked about coming out of addictions. Our audience is anybody who will listen. We talked about mortgages. That's the audience. What do you say, Mel? From 25 to 45 or 25 to 50. We had you on here. That's the young black women who looking for a role model in entrepreneurship, corporate America. Yeah. You do both of them.
Hoochie Hendrix on here.
Hoochie Hendrix. She is for the people who everybody want to call a hoe because they got OnlyFans. No, she work in corporate America too. She finna make 6 figures. She finna bust y'all head on that. But she's still comfortable enough with her sexuality to where boom, she got an OnlyFans. And she made what she made, like $40,000 $40,000 in 5 months. Our target audience is really everybody. Then we got comedians on here. We got old comedians, young comedians. We got my man from Ambiance coming on here next week.
Which one? Y'all got Jonathan Jokes, y'all got Jamil Robinson, y'all got Willie the Kid, y'all got Lacey. There's so many of them. Who's coming on from Ambiance?
Yeah. Okay. He's coming on here, and shout out to Ambiance. It was a fun time at the club. I went last weekend. Fire. You know what I'm saying? And that's entrepreneurship. That's a whole black conglomerate of brothers. When you say what our target audience is, I know you want it to be like a specific type of thing, but it's not. And it can't be because I want to talk to everybody. My grandma listened to the podcast.
Every episode? Y'all have some provocative content. Grandma listening to everything?
Hey, look, we from Chicago, man. My grandma done heard it all. My grandma then went to war with the GDs. Who let the GDs in the door? She did. And she told them to shut up too. Look, my grandma listened to some of the episodes. She didn't listen to all of them, but she listened to a good portion of them. She know how I talk. We fun. We a fun family. My mom was in. Did you listen to my mom episode?
Not yet.
You can't tell me that. My mama can't tell me that she can talk about snorting coke, but I can't say the F word over here. Come on now, which one is worse?
So now I'm gonna switch and play a game called Horticulture. What is your favorite urban clothing line?
Black-owned brand called Stamp Legacy. I mean, they're a real dope brand. They like to focus is to share African-American history through clothing. And when I tell you they have some of the dopest content on their clothing, some educational content, you see a shirt, you're like, oh, that look dope. And then you know what their brand mission is. So it make you want to say, go look up what that actually is before I put it on my body. So it's a super duper dope company.
Oh, yeah. Let me go right here, man. You want to know what my favorite black urban clothing line is? Dress code 187. There you go.
Period. Thank you, Darius.
187. There we go. That's my favorite.
And Darius is not lying. Darius actually purchased multiple products from us. So we appreciate you, Darius. What is your favorite black-owned business?
Printing Source, man. I'm talking about a family-owned business that's been went from father to son and now to daughter. Family, they didn't come for money. They took a loan. They paid off the loan. They built their business up. They saw a market, a niche. They cornered that niche, took that niche over, and then grew from there into starting multiple other brands. The Printing Source is my favorite black-owned business, and I ain't gonna lie. I gotta give a strong second to this one though. Genre Parfums.
I knew you was gonna say that.
If I didn't shout out Genre Parfums, another Louisiana black-owned business. I mean, a black man, and he putting out some amazing scents, some amazing quality scents. And what I love about him is for what he makes, he can very well charge double because I've seen it. He charged under the market rate. And then on top of that, just whenever you talk about black-owned business by a black man, he putting his wife on too. She got her own brand up under it. Man, I'm telling you, super dope brand, super dope people, man. So the printing sauce and genre parfums, and both from Louisiana. So what's up?
Another thing we talk about on the podcast is fragrances and stuff like that. But the
I
CI,
wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it like y'all said it. So
thank you. The CIH of the day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna have to go bias too, man. Sandman's Barbecue, man, here in town. The best barbecue smoking, man. If it ain't no smoke, it's a joke. We don't do that smoking stuff and all that. Yeah, we put it on the grill, charcoal, smoke down the road. It tastes good. It feels good in your stomach, man. Come shop with us, man. As soon as it start getting warm outside, we outside. Everybody know it. Everybody love it.
definitely no Sandman. So that's a good segue into my next question, which is, what is your favorite soul food restaurant?
You know my favorite, D.
Come on, baby. Let's say it. Say it. Say it.
Mine, it ain't soul food, but Blue
It is
Stove
soul
Chicken.
food.
Blue Stove Chicken.
Hey, come on, Blue Stove.
Is this a real restaurant? I've never heard of this. What is
Yeah,
this?
let me tell you.
It's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I'm gonna tell you how much Blue Stove chicken means to me. Cause he grew up on the Blue Stove. I didn't grow up on the Blue Stove. I visited homecoming with this man. The first thing I ate in Louisiana was not the first thing I ate in Louisiana, but in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Blue Stove chicken. Man, when I say it's the firiest chicken you can ever eat in your whole life. I'm fat. I've been eating chicken my whole life, fried chicken all across the globe. And you know what? It ain't even a restaurant. It's just like a food mart. It's a food mart. You know what it really reminds you of? Fanny's Corner. It's just a little spot. You can get groceries in there. You can get, but what they got.
It's a corner store / restaurant vibe.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stores
Like food
like
to
that
go.
in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It would be, I think it would be the closest thing to what people in New York would consider a bodega.
All right. My favorite soul food restaurant, I'm had to go Catfish Cabin, man, in Cleveland, Mississippi. It's the only place, man, you're going to be able to go to and get you a catfish buffet, man. It's going to have sweet potatoes and yams. It's going to have macaroni and cheese. And it's going to have, I don't like fried okra, but people love fried okra.
I do.
A little slimy. You can just sit there and just pig out, or you can get you one plate. But I ain't finna get one plate. I want all the plates. I'm finna get all the plates of catfish, and I'm finna go eat good. Catfish, and they got fried chicken too. They fried chicken is pretty good. It ain't no Blue Stove, but it's pretty good. Yeah.
2 restaurants I never heard of. Definitely something to add to my list when I'm traveling. So thank you.
You ain't
Next
gonna never
question.
travel to those places though.
Why you don't think I'm
You
going
gotta
to
be-
Louisiana?
Maybe Baton Rouge, but you're not gonna travel.
You got to be
Cleveland,
going
Mississippi.
to Baton Rouge for something. You're not just traveling. Baton Rouge is a big old city, but I don't know people that say I'm gonna visit Baton Rouge for tourism. People just go to
I might
New
be
Orleans.
passing through. I've been to New
Maybe.
Orleans twice. So that's why I'm like, maybe I'll stop at Baton
It's
Rouge
like
sometime in the
it's
future.
about an hour.
It's worth I think his stuff just froze, didn't it?
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was just me.
Okay, I had pause. I'm like, okay, are they frozen? I want to freeze too.
All right.
Y'all silly. What is your favorite TV show, movie, or series with a predominantly Black cast?
I'm gonna go the whole Power universe, man. I've been power. You know what I'm saying? 50 Cent can't miss. He can't miss. And I'm gonna throw BMF, and I know that ain't part of the Power universe, but you gotta throw BMF in that too. The whole thing, everything 50 Cent create. He need to create some cartoons next.
Because I know some people don't like to see all that drugs and violence and all that. So I got a different one, and it's on a whole different tune. And it's kind of new, and it's starting to be one of my favorites. Bruh by Tyler Perry on BET. And it's an all-Black male cast. And I don't know any show of men like very similar to Girlfriends, where it's just men being men in the world. You know, Black men anyway. It's a real dope show about 4 friends. I mean, they deal with like loaning each other money. They deal with helping each other out of situations. They deal with drug addiction. They deal with women and being indecisive. They all have real jobs. One's a doctor. I say real jobs, but they all nice jobs. One's a doctor. One's an architect. The other is a small business owner. And the other is a lawyer. So whenever you talk about like just put some brothers in a good light, it's like, that's the show right there.
Okay, so we're talking a lot about people and shows. I want to transition back to your show. What makes a good host? Because I think you two really balance each other out well. Darius is more candid, frank, like you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. Like he said, he likes to have a good time. There's no filter with Darius, right? But then I feel like Mel, this is my perception. Mel, you are very thoughtful. You're more analytical. Sometimes you'll watch what you say. You want to be a bit sensitive to who your audience is, just, so that people aren't rubbed the wrong way or offended. But you stand your ground. Like, if you feel a certain way, you stand your ground and you back it up. So I like that about you all. But what do you think makes a good host in general?
It depends on what their content is. Like I said, it's hard for me to relate to people who do it alone. I think me and Darius have very good chemistry. You ever watch the show and you look at the people and you be like, oh, they just work together.
Yep.
Me and Darius are friends outside of the podcast. So we have really good chemistry together. And a lot of times when I ask Darius something, 99% of the times I probably already know his answer, just because we've already had these talks extensively outside of this podcast, long before we even thought about having a podcast. So what makes a good host is, as far as a group, get to know the people that you're there with, get to know their likes and dislikes. So therefore you can kind of make the interesting conversation. I'm not going to ask Darius something that I don't think he'd be able to speak about, or it'll be a real boring show if Darius was to ask me about sports, because he knows I don't watch it. So if he's like, ask me and I'd be like, I don't know. Well, I don't know. It'll be a real boring show, but he understands that about me. So I feel like what makes a good host, if you have multiple hosts, is knowing who you're up there with, and then also knowing your role. Don't get me wrong, like, we have episodes run wild, but how you analyzed us is very spot on. Like, Darius is the funny guy. I just do my thing. As Darius said all the time, so he may even repeat it, is just don't come on our show trying to be funny. Just be yourself and it'll be entertaining. And
my thing would be what makes a good host, and it's kind of contradicting what I said earlier. You got to know the audience that you're trying to reach. You got to know the audience you're trying to reach.
How are you going to know everybody? Pause. How do you know everybody?
Man, I don't know.
You just said your audience is everybody.
It is. Hey, but that's my audience in life, though. Like, for real, though, if you know me, if you get to know me, man, you realize, man, that I got a very diverse group of friends, man. At the same time, we got an old white man that, we invite over to the barbecues, and he come over here and hang out. He listened to our podcast too. Old white guy, conservative. He probably voted for Trump. I mean, look, you know what? One time he talked about, man, you taught me a lot about black people during this podcast. He like 65, 70 years old. And he'd be like, man, he text me and be like, I ain't know, y'all go through that type of stuff. Cause he in his bubble. He live in Jennison, he a white dude, middle class, make good money. He don't have to deal with those problems. But we reached him, and I'm sure he telling somebody else. So our audience really is everybody. But what was the question again?
What makes a good host, dude?
Yeah, what makes a good host? What makes a good host, man? Be yourself. Be yourself. I can literally listen to people and tell when they're trying to pull one over on me. And I can tell when people don't talk like that in real life. I can tell when people don't act like that in real life. When you're not talking your original thoughts, you ain't even as passionate about your arguments. If it's one of them podcasts where you arguing and debating stuff, you just saying what you think is politically correct, or you just saying what you think is politically incorrect. You trying too hard to be offensive. You trying too hard to please people. You got to be yourself, and that's what makes a good host. Now, and when it comes to the interviewing things, I think we still learning that. And that's probably because we don't want to be like an interview podcast. We kind of want to be just like a social commentary where we can just talk amongst each other. When you're trying to interview people, that's a skill in itself. That's a really, really good skill to have. It's a hard skill to be able to ask people questions and shut up and listen to them say some stuff that you don't agree with, but you still let them go through it.
Okay, so let's talk about what makes a good guest. Is it all the same things that you just mentioned? A person needs to be authentic. They need to have fun. They need to be themselves.
The best guest to me is one who's open to everything. And I say that lightly. I understand.
Everything.
Hey, open to everything, open to every question. And
what kind of podcast you running there, brother?
One that'll participate in what we're trying to do, because we have a spiel that we give every guest at the beginning. Hey, if you're uncomfortable, let us know. Our safe words is no comment. Yeah, say no comment. We've had guests say, hey, I think I'm a little uncomfortable here. We change topic all the way, but if we are going down a certain path, either say don't go down that path or participate. Like we've had guests who've come on and participated in our horror stories with us. We've had guests who come on who I've definitely asked some very risque questions, and it was all in good fun. You know, like we're not, me and Dee both in relationships, we're not advertising ourselves because we have a lot of women guests, and that's something else that I really love is that like our women guests have told us, hey, I'm real comfortable with you guys. Like, you guys are cool and fun. So what makes a good guest is just somebody who's willing to go with the flow of the show and be themselves doing it.
That was a good answer, but let me just pause to say when I was a guest on their show, I did it in person. Like I showed up in person. So first off, I had never been to Darius's house before. We've been Facebook friends for probably like 5 years, met in real life a couple times, but we hadn't like hung out before this. So when they invited me to be a guest on the show, I'm like, okay, pull up at this big house. It was dark outside by the time I arrived. Did we film at like 7 at night?
Yeah.
Luckily, I have met Darius's girlfriend, so I'm like, okay, he cool. He a family man. He got a little baby gonna be running around. It's cool. I'm walking into a safe environment. But if not, let me send my pen to my family. Let me drop the location. But then when I went there, I'm like, where are we filming at? Oh, in the basement? Okay. Then there's Mel, who I had never met before. But it was still a cool, comfortable, cozy environment. And like Mel said, as a woman going in and meeting a new person and kind of filming at 7 o'clock at night, I did not see any red flags. I was not uncomfortable at all. So just the personality and the vibe that you give and everything like that. I did feel very safe being in the basement with y'all for 3 hours filming this podcast. So I'm just yes.
Your episode was a long one.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
We had a good time, a real good time.
I was your favorite guest. We just struck it out.
Yes.
Let's do it. Yeah, you was our favorite guest. Go ahead. It's hard to pick a favorite guest, but if I had to pick one, you was definitely up there on one of our favorite guests to have on the show. I mean, like you were authentically yourself, and that's what I really appreciated with it. You wasn't trying to be funny. You was snappy. You was witty right back, like boom, bam. Yeah. You was on Mel ass a couple times. You was going at it. He was like, "What you say? No." And you know, it's a lot of times, you know, a lot of people now I say what everybody say that we comfortable, but some people can't. Some people do say we intimidating as far as like how we have our conversations, how we got our own views on certain things, and they're not always aligned with each other. We argue with each other all the time. That's part of our friendship. That's our love language, man. We argue. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we sway each other's opinions. You know, sometimes I might feel some type of way, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, if you just think about it this way," and you know, where you get to be that analytical guy, thoughtful guy, and be like, you know what, little guy makes sense. It makes sense. You know, he makes perfect good sense right here. So
he will force you to think about something differently. Like they asked me a question, I gave a response. Mel said, "That seems very negative. Your views on relationships are negative." And I'm like, wait a minute, he's right. I am being very negative right now. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Mel has had people have whole breakthroughs on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
One girl got on there and said, maybe I am the problem.
So
Mel is like a therapist. Like you gonna go in thinking you just gonna be a guest on a podcast. It's almost like a free therapy session.
Oh yeah. Like I said, we have some guests who come on for an interview style format. And then other guests, hey, look, this may be a list of topics that we potentially might cover, but it's open dialogue. So you never know, and it just depends on. That's why I say a willing guest. It can be about you, or you can just be included in the conversation. And either way it go, I would like for a good guest to be okay with how it flows and participate. Because at some points we were talking about your life and your situations, Whitney, but at other points you was just in our conversation talking crap with us. So, and you floated easily through those two.
Well, what can I say? It's God's gift.
I feel like you just got to be interested, and you got to be willing. You got to be willing to be interested, be able to talk. You have to be able to respond. You have to be able to elaborate on certain things. You don't want to just do yes, no answers. I need you to give me an answer, explain your answer, and let's talk about your answer. You know, instead of just saying, you know, what's your favorite car? Toyotas.
Why? What kind?
I need to say, man, Toyotas, because, you know, they've been very reliable for me. You know, I love them, man. I've been having one for, you know, X amount of years. It's never let me down. And that's where I'm at with it. From now on, I'm going to buy anything Toyota. Next time, I'm going to buy a Toyota Tundra. Don't just say Toyotas. Because now you're forcing me to have to be like, well, what kind of Toyota? Well, how long you had this? Well, this. I got the. And then we get frustrated, and he's like, it's gonna be dialogue between me and Mel. Then, like, I ain't gonna be pulling. I ain't gonna be pulling teeth during the interview. I'll tell you that. And I ain't gonna get like visibly frustrated, but I'm just gonna be like, look, man, I ain't got time to be babying you through this podcast.
if people want examples, I'm not gonna call anybody out because I appreciate and love all our guests for giving us their time. But you can tell whenever it becomes the Darius and Mel show again, and you can't even tell a guest is there, and that'll show that person wasn't a good. Not to say they're not a good person, not to say they didn't have interesting dialogue. For whatever reason, they pulled back and they wasn't a good guest that night.
But you know what? I will say, as a guest, sometimes it's confusing to know, am I supposed to be a part of 100% of the show? Am I supposed to wait until they introduce me to make my presence known? Like, when am I supposed to chime in? So I think that might be the confusion for some people. They think, oh, they're just going to, kick off the show as usual. 5 minutes in, I'll introduce myself, and then I'll talk about one topic, and then I'm supposed to just be a fly on the wall. Like, some people, are confused about their role
bring up a good point,
as a guest.
and I think you bring up a good point. Now, I think as we go along, I'll start telling people after we introduce you, you part of the show.
But we ain't had to tell you. We ain't had to tell you that. You were just like, man, you talking about power? Shit, I love power. Well, I don't know what we was talking about. We was talking about what? Now we talking about you. We was talking about you on the show.
Oh,
yeah, We started talking about you, and he was like, girl, Joe. Jump in the conversation. We all sitting right here having the conversation.
Talk about the ending. I wasn't expecting this, even though I should have, because I've watched other shows before. So I'm thinking the show about to just close out. They gonna thank me for stopping by, joining the conversation. They tell me, hit them with a freestyle, Whitney. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not a rapper. What? They drop a beat.
Let me tell you this.
I freestyled at the end of their show.
It started off as a joke because we just used to play the intro going out, but we were just like, hey. You got a freestyle, right? And then somebody was like, haha, you playing. And then we end up doing it and keep on doing it. And then eventually somebody freestyled and was like, we should keep that going. Yeah. We should keep that going. It's fun, you know what I'm saying? We ain't looking to find the next Juvenile or the next Lil Wayne or nothing.
Right. So I'm just sharing another thing that sets your show apart, another aspect that makes it fun, not your traditional podcast. Next thing I want to talk about is challenges related to having a podcast. What is your greatest challenge?
Coordinating times. Sometimes we'll like double book. Like he'll book something and I'll book something. Because sometimes we do like word of mouth. Like, hey, you free on the 9th? I got you on the 9th. And I'm at work. And then I put somebody down. He'd be like, oh, I already got somebody down. Another big challenge is that we both got 2 new babies. So we got to migrate. We got to navigate through that. Or shit, at one time, I think just the internet went down one time. We were supposed to do like a remote. Internet went down. So I end up like doing the podcast a couple times by myself. I can't wait till he had to do one by himself.
Let me know
just
when.
Throw him under the bus.
Throw him under the bus.
Well, it'll be weird doing it by yourself. Equipment at your house. I have to come to your house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There you go. What if if I'm sick, I'm gonna be upstairs. I got the basement open for you. Go ahead.
My greatest challenge is overcoming this fear that I'm gonna say the wrong thing and it's gonna have repercussions in my life. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's always a possibility. And the more we go along, the more comfortable I am in what I'm saying. That goes back to Darius saying, be yourself. Like if I say something, I believe it. Sometimes I'll say, I'm just playing, I'm just joking. But if I say something, I believe what I said.
He meant that shit.
So I can stand behind what I said. But at the same time, Darius says it's perfectly, I'm not married to my ideas. So, even if I do say the wrong thing, because I've said some stuff, I'll say it, and then even after I say it, I'm like, honest, like once I said it out loud, that's probably not even smart. Let me rethink this myself, just saying it out loud.
So I 100% felt that. I actually worry about the same thing too, and it's because I always want to be my authentic self. I don't want to censor my ideas or my thoughts on specific topics, but at the same time, outside of all this internet stuff, outside of being Whitney Styles, I work in corporate America. Like I literally work with CEOs, human resource leaders, and all those type of people. So I'm thinking about, I still have to be conscious about what I put on the internet and how I present myself to the world. Even though I stand behind everything I say and do, just like you, I have to think about the consequences of if I say a certain thing, if I post a certain thing, and it gets into the hands of these people. Like, is it going to limit my opportunities when I'm coming into a board meeting with them? Or because they're going to have this different perception of me? They already have a perception of me because I'm a Black woman who's outspoken. But I just think about all of those things too. So I 100% felt what you said. Even if you didn't mean it that way, that's just the light bulb that went off in my head. Like once you put something on the internet, it's there forever. Even if you delete the post, the podcast, because it's already on 30 different streaming sources by this point.
And, we get a lot of people who comment on our page and they'll quote me out of context. Some stuff sound a lot worse than
That part. It's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna need you to clarify what you meant by that statement, Mel. Give me the
And then I
background
gotta
story.
go and then I gotta go and tell the CEO we're actually go listen to the whole podcast. And then the thing that they was listening for, not even the problem no more.
So earlier in the show, Mel talked about how y'all had like 11,000 downloads. It sounds good to me, but I don't know what's a good analytic when it comes to doing a podcast because I'm not in this lane. So break it down for me.
They break when they break down podcast analytics, they do it by percentage wise and how many downloads shows get. So a lot of people get misconstrued when you see like a Joe Rogan podcast. That's an anomaly. Like all podcasts don't get those type of things. He's talking about the regular podcast, everyday podcast that you listen to. The top 1% of podcasts get 3,763 downloads in the first 7 days. The top 5% gets 755. The top 10% get 321. The top 25% get 88. And the top 50%, which is the median, 29, which is crazy because a lot of people think you get like these a lot of downloads and they think about viral posts and viral videos when they think about the type of stuff with millions and millions of downloads. Well, really, that's not realistic for the average podcast because most of them only get 29 in the first 7 days, you know what I'm saying? And then, top 25%, you get 88. I mean, you just got to humble yourself when you're doing podcasts because not a lot of people, you might think it's an oversaturated market, but it's really not. 2 million sounds like a whole lot of podcasts, but most of those podcasts are inactive. So when you see those numbers, it's not really 2 million active podcasts. It's more like 800 to 900,000 podcasts. And you got to think everybody got a certain bandwidth they play on, and everybody got a certain different genre that they focus on. So I would say on average, we get about 170 something downloads per episode. So we in the top 25, but we above what the top 25, the bottom of it is. So we in the top 25% of shows at this point. Then that's including all shows that's been long running, short running, anything like that.
What is your overall goal for your podcast?
The overall goal is to reach as many people as possible. I want to be on all platforms doing numbers, really. And I don't have the exact numbers of what I want to get. I just want to just grow organically and consistently.
I have to agree with Darius. I just want to grow organically. Yeah, I know I may buy ad space, but that's just to get brand recognition. I mean, of course, anybody that's done any type of business on Facebook, you'll get those emails that are offering you to buy followers and all those types of things. I don't want to do that. I just want to have fun and grow consistently. And that's what I really like about doing this with Darius, that we have the same mindset. Like, Darius has a day job. I have a day job. We're not looking to retire because of this podcast. We are looking to grow our audience. We are looking to get bigger, but we enjoy doing this. This is a hobby for us. So as long as we can keep this going as long as possible, then that's my goal.
Real quick, what is your favorite podcast outside of your own?
Drink Champs. You know what's crazy is that I didn't start listening to Drink Champs until after we started our podcast. We probably was like 30 some episodes when I started listening to Drink Champs. And they remind me so much of me and Mel, like for real. like Nori is loud and he's obnoxious and he just talking shit the whole episode. And EFN is just real meticulous and he asks like those smart questions. And he don't get as rambunctious as Nori. And I'm like, I'm Nori. And Mel is DJ EFN. So I mean, it's just perfect. And they having real conversations. And I can tell, like when I say I can tell when people are themselves on the podcast, I can tell that Nori is Nori.
We got to get Nori on the show. Bro.
Gotta get Nori on the show.
I used to have a lot of people when that I would say that I would really like to hang out with as far as celebrity life. Nori might be number one now. Talks with 2K, man, is the most hilarious shit that you can ever listen to or watch or just tune into, whether it's audio or video. And he is smaller podcast on the grand scale of things, but he is growing consistently. He is doing his thing, and that is hands down my second favorite podcast ever.
People are on there telling a business. Like he has some messy guests on there, and you'll be like, "What? These people are on this podcast telling all this business for free because they ain't no way." Cheating, tacky outfits, all kind of.
Darius explained it best. Like if you enjoy Jerry Springer type content, but real. Like, you usually watch JSP, you're like, this can't be real because it ain't. Nah, Toss of 2K is real.
That's real.
So,
like
oh,
I know
man.
some of the people that's on the show. That's just real.
So my favorites is definitely Talks with 2K, The Lead Attorney, TLA, Pocket Watching with JT. Most respected for me is Blasphemous Debates.
And the Russian Roulette podcast, Kenny is hands down the funniest dude. He the funniest dude that do podcasts by himself. It's like what's crazy is he don't put out a whole lot of content, but he'll put out a video and get 4,000 views because dude is hilarious. The opinionated brother, he the one really like put me on this thing. Like, and I listen to him all the time. He also he just got a host, a guest host, but he been doing it by himself for like 5 years before that. So yeah, hey Whitney, I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's just, and this ain't no BS, but just doing it by yourself and keeping control of the situation and just keeping everything flowing nice and being, being a good host, man. I much respect the people that do it by themselves because if you get somebody that's dry on here, you got to pick it up.
So Travis was a guest on the show from the Blasphemous Debate, Travis and Cody. So their episode is coming very soon. But I asked him about that. I said, have you ever had a bad guest or, just a dry guest? And Travis basically said, I feel like it's our job as hosts to wet them up. And I was like, I like that. And that's true. Like as a host, you got to pull it out of the guest. Everybody's not going to be good. Everybody's not going to be a natural. Say it again. Are you flirting with me,
Travis?
I love that. That was the name of my episode with The Jungle is Hell. Y'all always do a lot of inside jokes, and I like that about y'all, where it's like, if you know, you know. The show is called The Currency Club. We have to have a money component in here somewhere, and I know that Mel said you all are not making any money from the show yet, but I could definitely see that in your future. Some sponsored ads, some investors, some promo, something. But I want to know, what is the craziest thing you've ever done for money?
Went to college. Went to college and asked for money to make more money to still owe them money. So
can we talk about it?
That's the craziest thing I've ever done for money. Is sign my goddamn name for a student loan.
And Joe ain't forgiving them loans. Joe done told us he was gonna give us $10,000 back, and nobody's coming to save us.
Joe said that's on you, Playboy. The craziest thing I did for money. So just to give people a little background about me, in college, I'm 5'5". In college, I weighed probably $130, $140. I'm a little heavier now. I worked security for a movie set. I worked security for Pitch Perfect 2. And I'm talking about like, you watch Pitch Perfect, it's huge crowds because of extras. And I was working security for that set. I wasn't stopping none. They hate it was 24-hour security because we used to have to watch the trucks whenever it wasn't being filmed. And some of the areas, it was filmed in Baton Rouge. Some of the areas are definitely bad areas, but had nice scenery if they fixed it up. And one area had crackheads and stuff in it. And I fell asleep in my car. And man, when I tell you a crackhead came, knocked at my window, I thought it was over for me.
Was he nice? Did he just ask for some money? Did he just say, you got a cigarette for me? You got some money for me?
He did want something. I don't remember what he wanted though. I can't remember, but he knocked at my window and it was hot. So from Louisiana, it was hot. So like my window was cracked and I was knocked out, but he was real nice. Knocked at the window, asked for what he needed. And I was like, nah, bro, I ain't got that. And he just kind of crackhead shuffled away.
Not crackhead shuffle. Oh my God.
You know what? You know what's crazy? I'm questioning our friendship because I never heard that story before, man. What's going on?
Oh man.
Is this really your best friend? Because how could he not know that story?
Hey, but you know what?
You know what? Security?
I'm glad I didn't because all the times I brought up the time I worked in security, you never brought it up. I'm gonna tell you the craziest thing I did for money, like for real. Outside of going to college. I used to work at the Mississippi State Penitentiary. And that was the most insane shit I could ever do for money. And I would just tell anybody never work at any type of penitentiary ever in your life. Because that's you basically, I'm
just wondering, who is going to be the corrections officers in these prisons and penitentiaries? If you telling people don't ever work there, somebody has to do the job. I
don't know, bro. I don't know if you don't work there, then they'll stop locking up innocent black men at alarming rates. But I don't know. It's like, hey, we ain't got enough COs, so somebody got to get out. But,
staff shortage. We can't even book you today.
Right.
We're just gonna smack you with this fine.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So working at a penitentiary is top one of the worst things I've ever done for money. Don't do it.
We're going to come back and have a story time with you about working in that penitentiary. So to wrap up this session, because I know Mel has to go, what is your greatest accomplishment with The Jungle is Hell? My
greatest accomplishment is starting it. There's a ton of things on my want to do list, and starting a podcast / YouTube channel was one of it. And I mean, I bought all the equipment, but I tell you, that's why I got to give a lot of praise to Darius. I would probably still be debating and recording and editing without him. So honestly, my greatest accomplishment is starting it and then becoming comfortable with the content that I put out. So like just overcoming that anxiety about what I'm putting out
and keeping it going. How many episodes have y'all
Yeah.
made? I feel like 62.
Hey,
Are y'all 62
we
in?
are at
Or is it more than that?
we are at 62. We are at
Mhm.
62. The greatest accomplishment. So we hosted by Buzzsprout, and you know what I'm saying, they got these analytics on there, and they got these milestones that you take. And I remember hitting our first like 500, and they were just like, "Ooh, 500 listens." You know what I'm saying? It was just like I was just super ecstatic about that. And then once we hit 10,000. 10,000 is the last milestone you hit. And then after that, they just send you on about your way with your own milestones, whatever you want to do. But 10,000 is the last one that Buzzsprout to recognize you with. So I feel like that's a big accomplishment. I feel like not a lot of people get to that. And not to knock any other podcasts and stuff like that, but I know podcasts that have been going longer than they hit those type of numbers. And I really, you know what I'm saying, appreciate the people for listening, 10,000 times, then right now it's more than that. But what was fun about our 10,000 listens, 10,000 downloads, however you will, it came at the end of the year. It was like December 29th, we had like 9,000, we had 9,000 on December 29th. And then the next day we would get like 200. And then we was just like, hey man, we need them listens, blah, 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 blah. Man, it was like a movie almost, because at like, I don't know, 11 something, it was like 9,999. It was like, man, we need to get one more listen. And then boom, apparently the thing was backtracking. It was like 10,064 listens. And I was like, man, we made it just in time, because our goal was to make 10,000 for the end of the year.
Congratulations on that. So just wrapping up the show, I want to leave the viewers with an inspirational message.
I'm going to assume that your audience for this episode is people that want to start a brand, start a podcast, start something. I say go all in. I mean, we talked about putting up money. We talked about being consistent. Just go all in for what you want to do and give it a chance. And go all in for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then reevaluate, is it worth it and how much time to put into it. But at least go all in, give it your all, and just see what you can come up with, because I promise you'll surprise yourself.
Whitney knows my motto. Either she going, she doesn't win, or she will go. I'm just kidding. You make sure you edit that out. I just
No, I'm gonna leave that in there. That was good. I'm gonna leave that in there. And I'm gonna insert a confused face, like,
huh? No, but for real though, whatever you're trying to do, if you're trying to start a clothing line, or if you're trying to start, a podcast, anything, you want to start a trucking company, because we had one of those on our show too. Just start it. That's all you got to do, is you got to just start it. You got to do it. Like you got to take that first step, man. Like I said, we got 2 new babies at the house. One thing that's going to help them out in life is just taking that first step. Once you take that first step, babies get more comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Then they take another step. Then they take another step. And then eventually they running around this joint. The marathon, if you have it, always starts with one step. If you don't take that first step, you can't get up the stairs. If you see some stairs and you scared to step on the first one because you don't know where the rest of them go, then you're gonna be lost forever. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, maybe you might be happy with your regular life or whatever, but if you got something in your mind that you want to do, and you got a thought for it, you got a taste for it, you got a feel for it, you got a yearning to start something, you got to start something. So in order to start something, you got to start something.
Well, with that being said, that was the perfect ending to our show. I want to give a big thank you to Darius and Mel from The Jungle Is Hell. Y'all got to tap into their podcast. We're going to drop all the links in the description box below. We're going to invite them back for a part 2. This was good. I didn't even ask them all the questions I wanted to ask. So definitely going to bring them back for a part 2. And we just want to thank you all for your time and attention. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to join the club.